The 1980s were a great time to be a kid. We had the freedom to take off on our bikes and no one cared where we went as long as we were back before the streetlights came on. We drank straight from the garden hose. We built forts and tree houses, ramps for our BMX and skateboards. 80s kids were fearless, and that was represented in the movies we watched. Movies where kids were the heroes. On the big screen, we could see children our age fight a family of ruthless criminals aboard a resurrected pirate ship. We witnessed kids saving the world, battling dark forces in the form of classic monster archetypes. Some kids cobbled together makeshift rockets and traveled to outer space. Others would befriend an extraterrestrial and help them evade shadowy government agencies and find a way home. These are the stories I loved as a kid and what inspired me to create my own kid-centric comic book adventure series, Young and the Dead, No Zombies Allowed, where a ragtag group of misfit suburban kids find themselves in the epicenter of a zombie apocalypse. This is a passion project of mine that I've been working on for over a decade, and now it's finally complete and about to go live on Kickstarter. Just go to youngandthedead.com or click the link in the description. Today, I want to celebrate 80s kids and dive into the evolution of this project, discuss what you can expect from the now completed story, and show you the process of some of the artwork. I'm Scott Serkland, to the Art Lab. Let's suit up. Here we are back in the art lab, and I have something to show you. This is a mock-up of the complete trade paperback for Young and the Dead, No Zombies Allowed. This isn't the actual book, that's where you guys come in. I've already written the story, done all of the artwork, everything is ready to go. We just need to get this thing printed and out to all of you, and I need a little help to make that happen. If you watch my videos on how to make comics or how I create cool retro projects, I mean, there's like over 1,000 videos now. Now I'm asking for something in return. I mean, not really, because you're gonna get something back in the form of an epic kids versus zombie adventure story. Depending on when you're watching this, the Kickstarter may already be up, and if it's not, there'll be a launch page that will notify you as soon as it's ready to go live. Just go to youngandthedead.com or click the link in the description. If you've been following my work for a while, you'll know that I've been releasing single issues of the comic book over the years. And if you have all the previous issues, you'll be able to get the final issue as well. But unlike the cover for the trade paperback, the artwork for the final single issue hasn't been created yet. So why not show you the process of me creating that artwork and talk a little bit about the journey of Young and the Dead, No Zombies Allowed. On screen, I've got the cover for Young and the Dead issue 6, the final issue that I've penciled in Clip Studio Paint. Somewhere around issue 5, I switched over to drawing the comic digitally, but in order to maintain the same look throughout the whole project, I've been printing out those pages and inking them traditionally. Doing this also gives me original artwork that I can sell or offer as rewards for the Kickstarters. With the blue line art printed out on Bristol, I start inking all the straight lines with microns. Once this is complete, I break out my brushes and delete black ink and lay down the rest of the inks. I'll also use a Faber-Castell pit pen to fill in larger black areas. The pit pen contains indie ink, so it won't fade over time like a lot of other markers. Since the cover for the trade paperback features our core cast of characters, for this final single issue, I decided to feature a couple of characters who haven't really got much exposure on the other covers. This scene features Rocky, Stephanie's overprotective older brother. Stephanie is the secret crush of our main character, Sam. Rocky is trapped in a supply room along with Sam's stepsister, Kelly, as a horde of zombies begin closing in. I felt this was a good action scene and didn't give away too many spoilers. At the end of the previous issue, the fate of many of our characters was unknown, so I really didn't want to show what happens to them on the cover. All in all, I like this composition, and I think it'll make an intriguing cover for the final issue. Looking back, it's hard to believe that this project is finally done, especially since it was never intended to be much more than an 8-page story. It all started when a friend of mine, Kevin Cross, created an art challenge called the Mini Comics Dump Truck. The idea was simple: bring a bunch of indie comic artists together and have each one of them create an 8-page mini comic. At the end of the challenge, you send your mini comic to everyone else in the group. You create one mini comic and you get a bunch of cool mini comics in return. So when I set out to come up with an idea, I was just trying to think of a simple premise, and I thought a zombie story, that would be easy enough. I came up with a couple of takes on the zombie genre, but settled on the idea of kids versus zombies. I was always a fan of the Goonies and Monster Squad, and I thought it'd be fun to do a tribute to those movies, but with kids fighting zombies. Keep in mind, at this time, there was no one else doing this. There was no Stranger Things or Skeleton Crew. This was even before J.J. Abrams' first homage to the kid adventure genre with Super 8. So I set out to tell my story, and to my surprise, it started to take on a life of its own. I started to get invested in the characters and the lore. And even the zombies themselves became their own unique thing in contrast with the typical zombie tropes. Before I knew it, my 8-page story became a 22-page mini-comic. Here's that original mini-comic. You can see some of the embellishments I made to add to its presentation. So, I traded it with all the other artists. I got a bunch of equally cool, awesome books that I still cherish to this day. But I still had a story to tell. So I published a standard size version of the comic and got to work on issue number 2. I eventually outlined the full series and started slowly chipping away, issue by issue. It's taken me a lot longer than I would have hoped. Then again, sometimes I wondered if I would ever get to this point. This comic has been my passion, but my own creator-owned comic has never been a major part of my income. Over the years, I've been able to carve out an unconventional career in comics. I've created a few variant covers for some of the larger publishers, and I've done all right using sequential art as a way to convey the message of various businesses and organizations using comics. It's a lot more effective than a boring PowerPoint presentation. I've also created courses on how to make comics. I developed a number of digital products for comic creators, and I've authored a line of workbooks and exercises for aspiring comic creators. And because those things brought in more money, they took in precedence. Young and the Dead was something I worked on when I could. There was some method to the madness. I participated in the 100 Days of Making Comics, also created by Kevin Cross, where you'd work on your comic for a specific amount every day for 100 days straight. And I usually kept that going way past the challenge. But even working on a comic for an hour or more a day still takes a lot of time. What helped me was little benchmarks along the way. Finishing an issue, kickstarting that issue, that did bring in some money and enable me to print up more books that I can turn around and sell at shows and online. Now, with the story complete, I really feel like I've got to get the word out and promote it. In the past, I've always worried about people being disappointed having to wait so long for the next chapter. But now I have no excuses. I have a story that I'm really proud of, and it's time to let as many people hear about it as are willing to listen. So if you haven't already, click on youngandthedead.com or click the link in the description and consider backing this project. There's all kinds of cool add-ons and stretch goals planned, and it's a fun story that harkens back to the days when kids were heroes and the 80s were alive and well. After I finish inking the page, I scan the artwork and color the cover in Photoshop. Then I drop in the logo, author credit, and finalize the piece. Here's the artwork for the final issue. You'll be able to get that final issue or the complete story in one volume. The Kickstarter has a lot of different tiers, add-ons, stretch goals, the works. Just go to youngandthedead.com or click in the link in the description. It'll take you right to that. Also, if you're a fan of creating comics or nostalgia, click that like and subscribe button. And if you want to see another totally awesome video, click this link right up here.